Hello, hello. I am
Hello.
Dan. Welcome to what is it, August 27th, State of Nativewind. I'm Dan. One of the maintainers of Nativewind, co-author of Nativewind UI.
And
Mark.
I'm Mark, the creator of Nativewind, and the very soon to be React Native CSS.
Yes. Well, I mean, already, but it hasn't been published yet, so.
No, but we have moved from nightlies to a preview version.
Oh, well. Okay. And so we're
good.
publishing nightlies now. That's good.
Yes, so now we have automatic publishing of nightlies on that repo, and I'm going to move that across to the Nativewind repo today, hopefully. But the big news here is we finally have a preview version of React Native CSS, and so as soon as I get some time, we'll have a preview version of Nativewind to be released as well.
Okay.
Which is awesome news for people who want to jump in and try and use a very, very early version of it. There's probably going to be a bunch of issues. I already know a couple, but we're still going to release and go out. I guess the biggest thing we need to talk about is we still need to get our docs updated for V5.
Yeah, so the branch for that is up. Nikita got that up since last week, and now we basically have to take a lot of the stuff that you've already noted in the Discord, forum section, and put it into the actual docs, which will certainly be a progressive thing. Like, it's not going to be like all at once. It'll be sort of like over time. I think. Yeah.
What I'm actually kind of looking forward to is after we do this release and finally get this out, we can stop talking about that for this State of Nativewind, and we can actually kind of like return to what we initially thought these were going to be about, which is actually just going through Nativewind features and kind of like improving things and talking about it and being like, hey, you can now do this or you can now do that. And showcasing some of the work that is there and what happens. So I am kind of looking forward to a change of pace for these State of Nativewind.
I think that's going to be really nice. I'm realizing that a lot of folks, even though these streams are not very long, a lot of folks want like more, and we've talked about this sort of in passing, people want a more like intentional, edited, concise format of these updates. And so there's room to explore on that front, as well as I think there's a whole educational sub chunk of this stuff. So we'd have the State of Nativewind that highlights aspects of Nativewind, but then I think we should have a whole separate playlist and series around here's how you might actually use it. That's not going to be in parallel to Tailwind's own stuff. Like, obviously, wherever it's a matter of understanding just how Tailwind or CSS works, we would like link externally. But I do think that there is a lot of room for some videos regarding, how to do a monorepo with these two things rather than just pushing people to the docs.
Yeah, like little showcases like that could be good. And even just like showcasing like unknown styling things. So there's a lot of like styles that work that are not documented in React Native docs. So these are like logical padding and logical margin styles, which no one knows about, but they're nice styles, and they're not documented in React Native docs, but they are in React Native and they work properly. So showcasing things like that, or like showcasing the new filters and all the crazy things that you can do with them, the new background, even though there's this new background gradients. They're still experimental, but there's some really nice things that you can do with them. I think I'm looking forward to kind of just like showcasing kind of how this works, and then we can do some more deep dives into like CSS selectors, and if you weren't just using Tailwind, how to actually like do some fun things with selectors for good component libraries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's certainly a lot to cover. I am excited to not have to cover, like you said, version 5, because there isn't really going to be a version 6 of Nativewind, and so we're not going to get
No,
those questions
probably not of
anymore.
Nativewind. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll just become new style updates. But
right.
like for example, it's hard to know like what's sometimes happening in React Native land. Like what new styles are being introduced. Nishan does he's still trying to push through a lot of the work there. Like, be good to get him on and talk about the work that he's doing, or even just like
Yeah.
showcasing his PRs, trying to get more attention to
I'd
him
love to
because they're
have.
just hard to know where they are.
Yeah, I'd also love to have some of the folks who are building on top of Nativewind on to
Yeah,
talk about their experiences with it, and I wonder if that could sort of inform how we make it easier to build with Nativewind. Plus, like, some of these folks are doing some incredible stuff. I'd love to highlight them, and currently I'm the only that receives the love, I feel like, in the DMs of people just like reaching out and showing off what they're doing. So yeah, we'll once this is out, I think we'll start to do a bit more of that. As a lead into what we're going to talk about, I should say that I will be jumping back into, I had to do some stuff with my business, so I got pulled away, but I'll be jumping back into the issues and the PRs and stuff. So if you've had some issues that have been unattended to, or PRs that need some attention, I'm starting to look into those again, and so those will start to move. But as we discussed last week, some of the issue templates or what have you will be directing folks to React Native CSS now rather than Nativewind, because that's really going to be where the bulk of this work is going to be happening. So, Mark, do you want to give us a synopsis on where we're at with version 5?
Really the big thing is just the docs at the moment. So I just released a preview version of React Native CSS yesterday. So I've just got to get a new release out for version 5 for Nativewind. On top of that, that's just going to basically be some cleanup, and then we'll push that out. We're also going to do a backport of some things for V4. I just want to do a shout out to Doug Lauder, who's done some work on getting version 4 working with SDK 54. So I'm going to try and get out that release today as well, and get people to test that out in the preview for SDK 54. So once we get out those two versions, we will have the docs coming in a couple of days later. I will update the README with some instructions on getting set up, but it's not going to have the full write-up of all the breaking changes, or like what's changed, what's been added, things like that. So this is a preview version. It's not even a beta. It's really just for early adopters. There's probably something, if it's going to go wrong, I wouldn't use it in production. This library is surprisingly complex in funny different ways. So what seems simple for you is maybe overlooked just because of how much coverage or things we have to cover to test this library. But we do encourage people to just jump in and just give us feedback for it. The other thing that we will be doing as well is also redirecting some issues from the Nativewind repo to React Native CSS. Because now Nativewind is simply just a very small plugin on top of it. Most of the, 99% of the actual code is now in a different repo. So we're going to try and redirect those issues across. So you can still report them as being this is a Tailwind issue. That's fine. We'll accept that. We're just going to try and separate between the V4 and the V5 issues just a little bit for our sanity.
Yeah, and so just to clarify there, the usage for folks who still want to use version 3 of Tailwind, they're obviously able to use SDK 53 with that. But if they want to use SDK 54, that is what Doug is working on, is maintaining support of Nativewind version 4 with SDK 54, which is currently still in pre-release and will be stable in like the next month, probably. Like within the
I think it's
next
actually
month.
coming quicker.
Oh yeah.
I think SDK 54 is like slated for a week or two away.
Oh, okay. I'll believe it when I see it. I see these things as stable a little bit further than
Yeah.
Expo simply saying that they are. But
We'll see what it is.
yeah,
I'm not in the know. I don't know where it is anymore. So
yeah. But yeah, so big thanks to Doug, like you said, for helping stabilize Nativewind version 4 with SDK 54. We will not, when we publish the docs, we will not be setting version 5 as the stable, like the default. It will be something that you opt into, and you'll have to go separately to those docs. It'll be like something like v5.nativewind.dev. I'm not exactly sure when we'll make it the default. I think we kind of it's going to be like a gut read feeling of like, this feels right. And at that point, we're really going to focus probably on version 5, I would imagine. We don't really have the bandwidth to be supporting multiple versions back. I might still, especially for minor changes to the docs for version 4, like, if you find those, please continue to flag them. But our attention will definitely be primarily on version 5 and things pertaining to SDK 54. Also, welcome Phil and Danny.
I was gonna give a shout out. Yeah, Phil, a week away. Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully. I also actually want to give a shout out to Phil because another major issue with Nativewind has been PNPM users and dealing with the dependency hell that can sometimes create with the dependency tree in Symlinks. I haven't read your blog post, Phil, but I understand that a lot of that is being addressed and worked on in SDK 54. So I'm interested to see if PNPM users will finally have a better time using Nativewind and not get into as a weird unknown dependency hell like they used to get into.
I don't love that all of these things handle peer dependencies in like seemingly different ways and ways that are abstracted to the end user, and they change also. So it's like an argument that you had a couple months ago could suddenly be invalid. Most people just want a package manager that doesn't have them thinking about package management. And yeah, so we've talked about tool fatigue in the past. Danny says, is the plan? Yes, we are basically pegging Nativewind version 5 to SDK 54, right? So the only thing there is that, so because Nativewind 5 relies on SDK 54, they'll be released in parallel. However, I think we're probably going to hold off on making version 5 of Nativewind the default, relative to like, SDK 54 will probably become stable, quote unquote, before we make version 5 the default on our end. So my understanding, Mark, we talked about this last week, is that Expo is going to have its own kind of Tailwind version 4 stuff with respect to experimental. Yeah, Danny, exactly. So but Expo is going to have things like experimental flags for turning on support for v4 of Tailwind, and so there's going to be some more on Expo's
still
end.
Being discussed, and probably going to come out later in the year. So if our release goes well, looking at ways to basically integrate with the Expo CLI so that you don't have to jump through the setup anymore, that it could be automatically set up via Expo just by flipping a flag inside your app config, something like experimental CSS support. something like that, which will just kind of set things up and you don't have to worry about it. It's just tighter integration. The other major reason for this is because we still have to hack Metro a little bit to get this working. There's a couple of things that when you look at the code still raises a little bit of eyebrows, just because we are technically just a Metro plugin. We don't get full access to the Metro server. So if we can integrate with Expo, which controls the Metro server, it means that we can have a much cleaner, basically an integration that's going to be more long-lived. We're not using deprecated methods anymore. It was in hacking Metro, yeah.
Find that one particularly funny. I would say Mark is my introduction, or was my introduction to the concept that you can hack Metro all the way, over the last year and a half or something. But yeah, Danny works on Storybook, which I think you are aware of. So, presumably does his own messing around with it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So that's the bulk of the updates. Definitely the docs are, front row and center as far as what we're cooking on, and really want to make that, solid experience. Installation docs are going to be a little bit, only slightly different, I think. Actually, they're just going to include less steps than they currently do. And with that comes the support for reanimated version 4. Remind me, Mark, is that being backported to version 4 of Nativewind? I think not.
So Doug is PR actually does bring in support for that. So
okay, great.
It updates everything to SDK 54, which requires reanimated v4. So when we get that out, we'll test it out, and hopefully that should upgrade everyone there who isn't able to jump onto this new release straight away.
Cool. Are you expecting to push that out today, or is that like an end of week kind of thing?
I expected to push it out today. I'm going to say newborn daughter pending.
For sure. Definitely.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is
cool.
Where my time is going at the moment.
Yeah. Totally fair. Okay, so then I'll predominantly be focused on the docs, and I don't even remember what else. Oh, the GitHub issues and the PRs, just catching up on that front. Cool. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, unless folks have other questions pertaining to what's happening, I'd love to get into more of the educational content, but at the moment the documentation, the release of version 5 is kind of taking priority. So we'll get there. We're just working on it,
Every week we get a little bit closer.
Yeah. And if you know any graphic designers also, and people who like to mess around with cool visual stuff, feel free to shoot me a DM. We're looking for some people to make this this video, other stuff we have in the works, even better. So yeah, feel free to reach out. With that, Mark, do you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, I think we'll just make this a simple one, and then we'll probably do a big one once we get everything out.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us this week, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thank you, Danny. There will soon be more swords. All right. Catch you guys later. Have a good one.
See you guys.